Hey everyone, it's Walter TGB here, back with another No BS travel guide, and today I'll be giving you guys a look into one of the most famous tourist cities in Europe and possibly in the entire world, that being Venice in Italy. Now, I was blessed with the opportunity to go there last December, and let me just preface by saying that's really the only time of year I would recommend going. It was already crowded and very sunny in the dead of winter, so I really actually don't want to imagine how crowded and hot it gets during the summer, not to mention the stench of the canals, because they were a little bit, let's say, aromatic while I was there in winter, and in the summer with the sun baking the canal water, it must smell putrid. I'm going to give you guys some good tips on where to go and what to do within the city based on what I did, and some other recommendations based on my research online that I'll sum up for you at the end. But essentially, I'd like to first start with what I did on my first day in the city. A lot of the biggest tourist attractions in the city can be found in one location, that being Piazza San Marco or St. Mark's Square. This includes St. Mark's Basilica, the Doge's Palace, the Campanile Tower, and really the square itself is one of the most famous places to go in all of Venice. The first thing that I did was a tour of both St. Mark's Basilica and the Doge's Palace, which I think is a great deal. My tour guide was fantastic. The tour did not overstay its welcome, provided good information, had a great pace to it, and you got to see a lot of both the palace and the basilica, both of which were absolutely spectacular. The Basilica is possibly one of the most beautiful churches I've ever seen. Now, at some points, it did feel a little bit overly extravagant with all of the gold, but it's undeniably impressive, and there are so many beautiful little areas to find. The only thing that was sort of disappointing was the museum area of the Basilica that I got to go to as part of my tour, which really didn't impress me all that much. There were some bronze horses that were relatively interesting due to their historical background, but I wouldn't make it a priority to head to this museum. The Basilica itself is an amazing church, though. And as for the Doge's Palace, don't worry, Doge is the Venetian dialect term for duke, so you're not going to find Elon Musk here. The Doge's Palace is an absolutely incredible palace, lots of history behind it. I found it to be really fascinating. It's maybe not as beautiful or aesthetically pleasing as a building as the Basilica, but I found the history behind it that I was told on the tour to be really great, and that's coming from someone who really doesn't usually like to even take tours, so if you're a little bit apprehensive about doing that, don't worry, it is totally worth it. Another church that I checked out on my first day was St. Mary's Church of Miracles, which is very small, much smaller than I expected, but it's absolutely beautiful, and while I wouldn't say this is a must-see, if you have time to stop on by, it's not that far from St. Mark's Square in the end, and it's really quite neat. Everything's made out of marble, which I haven't really seen much of in a church before, so I found it to be a unique little slice of architecture. And then we have the Rialto Bridge, which is the first tourist attraction that I'm going to be a little bit more negative about. Now, it is beautiful, it has history behind it, it's a very scenic location. I mean, you can see with your own eyes how gorgeous this is. But my only issue with it is absolutely packed of tourists, and it's not exactly that compelling. It's a bridge. It's very pretty, but it's a bridge. If you can find a time of day where there aren't going to be that many people around, then go for it. But I wouldn't exactly recommend pushing through the crowds to go on the damn bridge. I just took a picture from the side and was perfectly happy with my experience. On the next day, I made an impulse decision to check out a random church that no one had recommended to me and that I didn't even see on any lists of attractions, but that I think might be one of the biggest hidden gems ever. It is the Church of San Pantalone. I don't know how you're even supposed to say it in English, but I'm going to try in Italian. Chiesa di San Pantalone. I don't speak Italian, so don't come after me. Now, this is one of the most beautiful churches I've ever seen in my entire life, and that is saying something. I actually thought it was more impressive than St. Mark's Basilica, which everyone talks about nonstop. It's beautiful. The ceiling painting is one of the biggest I've ever seen, might be the biggest I've ever seen, and I was just stunned by how impressive this little hidden church that no one talks about was. I 100% recommend this place, and it is a big hidden gem, so please check it out. Another great place to go is the Scuola Grande di San Rocco, which when you enter doesn't seem all that impressive, and it is an extremely cold building like Jesus. But when you go up the stairs to the upper floors, you will see some absolutely incredible wood carvings, statues, and most importantly, ceilings. It's all about the ceilings in Venice, in my opinion, and this has some of the nicest that you'll ever see. They are true works of art. It's very impressive. It's sort of an art museum, but it's a living art museum. It's not a gallery that you're just going to walk through. It's a really interesting experience in a historic building with absolutely beautiful views. There's also another church that's sort of worth checking out, but I find it a little bit disappointing when compared to some of the other ones that I've talked about. If you have time, definitely check it out, but I wouldn't say it's one of the best in Venice. Maybe in the top 10, but not in the top 3. And it is another St. Mary's church, this time the St. Mary's Friar Church is roughly what it translates to. And I found it pretty impressive, but not as good as some of the other ones I've talked about. I think the San Pantalon one still stands way above the rest. Then we have the worst tourist attraction that I saw my entire trip, and that is the Scala Contarini del Bovolo, which is a cool-looking building from the outside, but I was under the impression that this was going to be like a whole museum where you got to go through the house and got to see everything. Let me tell you, it's way overpriced for what it is because it's just going up a fancy staircase to get a view of the city, which if you want to know where you can get a good view of the city, I'm about to tell you. And then there was this really weird temporary art exhibition within it that was absolutely laughable. It felt like something, again, and I said this in my previous travel video, it felt like something out of a sitcom making fun of modern art. It was so weird and, I don't know, it felt very cheaply made. So this place honestly feels like a tourist trap, like a total scam. You can get a picture of the cool building from the outside without paying anything. So if you really want your picture, do that, but I would never recommend going to see it to anyone. But if you want to get a good view of the city for a much more fair price, then just go to the Campanile on St. Mark's Square. It's a really cool tower, and you will get absolutely stunning views. I got the views right around when the sun was about to start setting, so it looked absolutely gorgeous, and I can't recommend it enough, especially because of its central location. It's a no-brainer in my opinion. And you don't even have to climb stairs. You can go up an elevator, so there's absolutely no reason not to. Unless you're scared of heights, I guess. I spent 2 days of my trip heading to other cities near Venice, and if you like, I could make videos about those day trips because there's quite a lot to say about the two cities, Verona and Vicenza, which are absolutely beautiful that you should absolutely visit. So if you want to know more, let me know and I'll make videos about them. But back in Venice, there was a bit more to see. Now, one of the things that I did was actually go to Murano, which is an island that you can get to on the ferry that's basically part of Venice, but a little bit out from the city center. It was nice to see a different part of the city, and Murano is incredibly beautiful. The main thing to see there is to tour the glass factory, which I didn't really think was going to be that cool, and I only did it because I had extra time on my hands, but in the end, I really liked it. Not only do you get to see someone making a glass figure in front of you in a demonstration during the tour, but you also get to walk through a bunch of galleries of super impressive and unique glass sculptures. Unfortunately, they don't allow any photography, so I can't show you. You'll just have to trust me that these are amazing and some of the coolest things I've ever seen. So I really felt like the tour was worth it. I even got little glass figures of my own because you get a discount after going on the tour. And then I just explored the island for a little bit. I don't really think that this is the best day trip you can do, not by a long shot actually. I'd recommend going to other cities near Venice before going to Murano, because really all it is the glass factory, which is pretty cool, and then a bunch of shops trying to sell you the same glass stuff. There's really nothing else here to do that's worth a damn. So I wouldn't recommend going here as my first priority, but if you have extra time on your hands and you want something a little closer that you can get to with a relaxing ferry ride, like I did, then go ahead. And finally, back in the main part of Venice, we have the Santa Maria della Salute Basilica, which is pretty famous and pretty massive, but to be honest, from the outside, it's cooler. It's a really beautiful church. It's not that bad, but is it one of the best churches in the city? No. It's one of the most imposing, yes, but I wouldn't exactly call it a top contender. On the other hand, there's another huge hidden gem, the Church of St. Mary of the Rosary Gesuati, or however you say it. It is a lot cooler inside than the Basilica della Salute, way cooler. And it's absolutely unknown. No one talked about this one, just like the Pantheon one. So I recommend these two churches as the biggest hidden gems in all of Venice. Even if you don't think you're going to be that impressed by them, trust me, they're incredible. And I got to see this one right as the sun was setting, so it was a really unforgettable experience. There are, of course, other things you can do in Venice, and on screen right now is a list of extra things that I found through research that I myself didn't get to do, but that you might want to research for yourself and find out if you'd like to add them to your itinerary. Anyway, that's all I've got for now. If you want, I can make videos about Verona and Vicenza since I also visited those. But for now, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was helpful. Be safe, everyone. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.